afterlife. Death is not the end. Our little boy is there. He has shown me that. I want to find out more about it. I don't necessarily believe that I will get a full answer, but I will certainly look and try and find out what I can about where he is and where we all go.
I won't follow with them, I don't think.
Craig Sexton died on November the 2nd, 2006, after being diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumour. He was just 6 years old.
The moment that Craig passed away, I believed in my heart and soul that there had to be something else. It would just absolutely destroy my mind if I believed that that could not be.
Neville and I totally grieved differently. Neville would be in one place and I would be in another, and neither of us agreed at the time, like, where Neville believed that he was somewhere. And I just said, no, he's gone and that's it. That's it, Neville.
Neville and Barbara began experiencing a series of unusual phenomena.
Craig very wonderfully showed us that he's still alive and well through various messages that we got in the house, and to the point that we couldn't ignore it.
Convinced it was their son Craig communicating with them, these occurrences sent them on a personal quest to find out all they could about the afterlife.
He's gone to this place which I now know exists, and I want to find out what I can about where it is and what it is. It's the same as if my child was kidnapped and was taken across the other side of the world. I wouldn't just sit down and go, okay, he's kidnapped and I'll never get him. I would try and do everything I could to understand or find out as much as I could about where they've gone and who they're with.
I can feel it. I can drink a mirror.
Craig was a wonderful little boy. Happy, cheerful, mischievous, like...
Say, my name is Craig.
My name is bloody Craig.
I suppose he had a zest for life. He had a real fantastic ability in seizing the day, you know, looking at life with optimism and happiness.
Happy birthday to you.
I suppose in many ways, like, a lot of children had that happy outlook.
He was a big smile, Craig.
He was just an amazing little boy, full of fun, full of laughter, like. Had a lot of love to give to his mum and dad. I never saw a child to have that much love for two people, like.
Can I get a hug?
Did that get a hug?
That all changed then. Just hit with a bang.
In June 2006, Neville and Barbara first noticed that something was not right with Craig. They rushed him to hospital, and after a gruelling 24 hours of tests, they were told the most harrowing news.
The doctor sat in front of me, and the other doctors kind of circled us. And she said, look, I'm sorry to have to tell you that we've looked at the CAT scan and we've detected that your son has a 5 centimetre brain tumour. And when I heard those words, it just absolutely knocked me.
It was extremely difficult. Like, I couldn't believe my little boy. I would never see him grow up, never see him grow old, never see any of that, like. And it was just devastating for me, like, you know, my whole life just crumbled right in front of me when I got that news. I just knew when they told me that, I knew he was going to die, like. Neville stood firmly grounded. He would be that miracle child, like, but I didn't.
This is the woods where me and Craig used to come all the time. It's a very special place. I suppose a special memory for me is when Craig was sick, this tree here. And I thought to myself, I'll carve our names on the far side of this tree. I suppose I had this image in my mind that many years from now, myself and Craig would come back when we're older and come to this tree and look at it, and it would, you know, be a reminder of a dark period in our life, but a period that we got through and we triumphed over. But unfortunately that didn't happen. I mean, the day that he passed away, Craig used to sleep in the double bed with his mammy, and he'd been out of it, you know, he'd been unconscious.
He had been deep asleep for a long time, like, and I had just said to him, I'm just going to the toilet, and he opened his eyes and looked at me, and he followed me as he moved, like, and I just think he was saying goodbye to me then.
I got up off the floor and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and then he closed his eyes, and then he just started to turn blue. And it was very hard.
It was the most difficult time that anybody that have lost a child to go through that, to see that, like, to watch your baby die like that, and me being a mother can't help him. It was just awful.
And I spoke to him, and we held him, and I told him, you know, that I made a story about, you know, being in the woods and going for a walk, and he just stopped breathing. His heart stopped. He let out a final gasp, and he was gone. And I remember that moment. I had this feeling that it didn't make sense to me that Craig could just be gone. You know, all the memories that we had, all the, you know, his personality, all the things he did, you know, all the things we did, it couldn't just cease to be. I remember the priest came along and, you know, for the funeral arrangements, having to pick out particular psalms and stuff, and I just didn't want a bar of it. The irony, I suppose, was that I didn't believe in God, but yet I was being asked to pay homage to the glory of this God who could make a 6-year-old boy, you know, smother and choke and to death. And that's where the anger came from. But I extinguished that anger very quickly because I don't believe in God, so I had nobody to be angry with. I acknowledge the spiritual intent of religion, and I go into a church and I'll light a candle, and I'll say a few words to Craig. But you know, when Craig passed away, what I was left with was a sense of just pointlessness and confusion. You know, what is the purpose of everyday existence? Why bother? What is the point in doing anything? Because at any given moment, the worst thing can happen, and did happen for us. And then we were, you know, just exceptionally fortunate that we had messages from Craig that gave us strength to believe, to know that there is more to life, and there is a hereafter. So this is where we got the first communication from Craig. I said to Craig, please, if there's any kind of signal, any kind of message that you can give me, you know, just please give it to me. And as I did so, I looked up, and when I looked up, we had the 4 lights here, and instantly I said, you know, Craig, that bulb there, if you could just blow that bulb, you know, I'll know, and I know you're there. And I walked straight over to the switch and pressed the switch, and nothing happened. And when that happened, I kind of laughed. I said, oh God, you know, I'm losing it here, you know, and laughed about it. But I was upset as well because I really wanted it, really kind of needed it. And then I continued to cry. But it was the next day. We were just coming in from Tesco, So I came in, I put the bag down, and I just flicked the switch, and then instantly there was this large explosion, and Barbara screamed, and I put my hands up, and Barbara put her hands up as well, and I looked up, and the bulb, the very bulb that I'd asked to blow, had exploded everywhere, literally exploded everywhere, and it just hit me, and I knew, and I ran in to the sitting room, and I grabbed Craig's picture, and I kissed it, and I gave him the thumbs up, and I said, Craig, I said, thanks, I really, really needed that.
You know, I was a little bit sceptical first, like, but I just never saw a light to explode to that extreme. Like, it was very, very strange. You know, I kind of said, okay, like, you know, all right, I'll listen, and I'll go with this and see what happens, like, and that's what I did. And then I got my own things that I saw, like, I had one of my really bad days, and I was up in his room, and I was just lying on his bed, and I just went to his wardrobe just to grab the clothes, just to smell them, and he had a tissue in his pocket, like, and I didn't want to wipe my eyes with that tissue, like. And I went into the bathroom, and that light just started going up and down, and I just called for Neville, and I said, bring your phone, and he actually videoed it, like. And I just knew then, I knew that he was there, like.
You there, my darling?
All these different things that happen, if you look at them individually, they can all be reasoned away as just things that happen. My background is scientific. I did my degree in applied physics, but it's the sheer volume of stuff that's happened, added to the significance and the timing of those things, is something for me which I just cannot ignore. I mean, from a rational point of view, I can't even ignore.
And it's just as I walked in with this book here, called Testimony of Light.
And it's not just the grieving mind seeing what it wants to see, it's my rational, logical mind looking at this and kind of going, look, there's definitely something happening here.
I know your ears, bud.
What do I do with this? You know, there's another aspect of life now that I don't understand, because if I'm to believe, and I do believe, you know, that was Craig, for me, from the scientific point of view, there's some common ground where the forces that govern whatever that is can interact with the forces that govern the physical scientific world. And it's put me in a journey of trying to understand what that is.
Neville was desperate to make sense of the strange things that were happening in their home. Hoping that science could provide some answers, he's come to Trinity College Dublin, where he arranged to meet Professor Werner Blau in the Department of Physics.
Flickering.
It was a strobing effect,
okay.
You know.
The phenomena as such are not extraordinary.
No, as an individual
as an individual account.
Thing to happen, yeah.
However, if you talk to other people, and I've met people that said, you know, when my grandmother died, a light bulb blew.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can say to you, you know, get your house rewired. We had this as well. What the issue really is the coincidences and the correlation between those events.
Absolutely, that's the
and
key.
Communication,
that's the key.
and that leads you to the communication issue. And if you said to somebody 100 years ago, you can ring your son-daughter partner in Australia, or you can send a mail to South America 20,000 kilometers away within 2 seconds, that would have been totally out of the reasonable. So in a sense, you know, that there are communication channels which we do not understand is something which I can very, very well see, and these may open up.
Is science at a point now where it needs to make a breakthrough here?
We've always been at a crossroad, and that's what science essentially is, and that's what makes science so exciting, because there is always something to do. There's always something we do not understand. And I think this is part of the normal human inquisitiveness. Obviously, it's our objective and our
obligation.
Duty. Duty. That we need to find out and try to understand it. And as we move on, we immediately find one thing, and the next time
it opens the door for more issues. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the basic issue.
And that opens up new doors for investigation and adventure and so on.
Yes, exactly.
For me, just to have a conversation with somebody who's representative of the forefront of science and to get to pick their brain and probably confirm with me that science is, you know, at a stage where there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of ground still to be made. That in itself has an intrinsic value to me, and it's great.
I don't understand the science part of it like Neville does, but I understand the part that Craig is trying to show me that he's still around somewhere. Like, the first time Neville told me that he got that communication, I didn't believe in anything like that at all. Like, no. At first, like, I was struggled. I just thought that when you died, that was it. You were just gone into a black hole and that was the end of everything. But when Neville told me about the first sign and when I was there and I had witnessed those lights, it was just a wonderful. I just couldn't believe that my son was, you know, he was trying to show us that he was still around.
Yeah.
And it just gave me hope.
It's needful to find some kind of tangible evidence as well as I go along, and to hear other people's stories, other people's experiences, and that's, you know, what I'm going to pursue. That's what I will just be drawn to. I cannot not be drawn to it.
Coming from a scientific background, Neville needs to find tangible evidence of the afterlife. He wants to talk to people who've had near-death experiences. So, hoping to get some answers, he meets Michelle Lally, singing with Danann, who had an experience after giving birth to her son, which changed her life forever.
I felt a very strong pull, like I was being pulled back into something. I wasn't sure what it was. I knew it wasn't sleep, even though I had been through 12 hours of labour. It wasn't sleep, it was something much stronger, and the realisation that I was going to die. I went from one place straight into the other. I felt no pain. I was floating, a very beautiful floating feeling, and right in front of my face was a veil or a curtain of some sort that was blowing very softly in front of me, and the weave of the curtain was very close to me, so I could actually see the crisscross.
You could see the substance of it.
Yeah, which looked like linen if you look at linen. I floated to the right of it until I came to the end, and on the other side was my mother-in-law and father-in-law, Barbara and Frank, and they had both passed away, and obviously, and they were standing a little bit off in the distance, and I smiled when I saw them. I remember being happy and wanting to go to them, and Barbara just shook her head. She put her hands up like that, and that's all I remember until I woke up in intensive care on life support.
Back in the room.
Back in the room. The doctor sat at the end of the bed and he just told me that you flatlined.
It added up then?
Yeah,
you know,
where I had been, what I had experienced was real. You know, I knew it had to be real because of the excitement that I felt when I woke up, the feeling that I felt when I woke up. I knew that I had been someplace
and it was
very special.
It was very vivid to you. It was very
to this day.
When you know, when we lost Craig, and then we got a communication. You know, there was the confirmation that he's alive and well, which is the greatest thing in the world, and that we'll meet again. It's
a privilege to know that, not to doubt it anymore, and not to be scared, and to know that the spirit actually does live on. It does go someplace else.
Absolutely.
This is just a phase. We're here for a short while, and I think the message, I think the main thing is to be happy, and to be good people, and to be happy, and then when the next phase comes, it comes, and not to be scared of it.
He's gone to this place which I now know exists, and I want to find out what I can about where it is and what it is.
Neville hopes he'll surely get some answers about this place where he believes Craig is from those who claim to know something about the spiritual world. So he comes to the Church of St Peter's in Phibsborough to meet a well-known Catholic priest who's also a psychologist and an exorcist, Father Pat Collins.
This is again something similar. I was up in the bathroom then.
So you didn't find that scary in any way, but
no.
Comforting.
Comforting, yes. And just intriguing.
Yes.
Intriguing, and you know, of course, my scientific mind starts questioning: is it the filament? But then I always question, or I suppose I always.
But it settled down again after that.
It settled down, but then it's now 4.5 years on, and the intensity of these experiences kind of has waned.
That's what I would have expected.
Yes.
Now, when I'd be teaching the psychology of religion, I would make a distinction with the students between what you would call spiritual phenomena and what you would call paranormal phenomena. Mm-hmm. And this decidedly falls in the category of the paranormal. Mm-hmm. Now, what we mean by paranormal is that it's normal physics are operating here. It's not the spiritual realm at all. Mm-hmm. But it's paranormal in the sense that physics is struggling to explain it. And I would say either you or your partner is more psychic than the normal. Mm-hmm. And that when you're highly emotional, and you were certainly after mm-hmm. Craig's unfortunate death, that things will be projected into the environment. Psychokinesis is the word for it, mm-hmm. that they are affecting their environment. So that, in other words, when you said about the bulb, you know, Craig, let that bulb go, mm-hmm. unconsciously you made it explode.
Or is it a possibility to you that it is that it could be your son?
If I were to give it a percentage, I would give it 5%.
Okay.
And I'd be 95% persuaded that it's natural.
It's natural, okay.
But it's paranormal.
Yeah, but it's as much a leap of faith at this stage to attribute what I experienced to paranormality and the greyness that is that, as it is for me to make the leap of faith to say that that was my son. There's no difference in, because I suppose in the sense...
But that sounds like wishful thinking to me, Neville. It's what you wish to be true.
But I wish...
The indications, however...
I'm not in the business of wishing, I suppose. People often think that science is totally perfect.
Why do you need this to believe that your son has life after death? I just don't understand it.
I don't need it. That's
but you put a big emphasis on it all the time.
But it's my reality. It's what I've experienced, and what I am doing is trying.
But are you relying on that though for your conviction that he continues to live?
Like I said to you before, and I said in the book, when Craig passed away, I knew instantly.
Yeah.
Because it would corrupt my brain immediately if I believed that the personality, the life force that is my son just ceased to be.
And you see, science is limited to the here and now. By definition, it can't deal with these metaphysical questions.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of life works on the basis of trust and faith.
Yes.
And I would say your faith, it's a universal experience, that one. Love cannot die. Now, the Bible actually says that death cannot quench the flames of love. Mm-hmm. And that we get this intuition, this spiritual thing we had, that can't be the end of that. Mm-hmm. It must perdure in some way or other. And let me say, Neville, I mean, although our worldviews are different, I was enormously impressed by the love that you had for your son.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
And your love for Craig reminds me, in my worldview, of the love of God the Father for each one of us. And I think that's the great mystery that enwraps all of us, as far as I'm concerned.
Meeting with these people hasn't changed anything for me. Discussions with science and discussions with religion they're interesting, but they're only really a kind of maybe just a starting step on a journey that I'm on, and maybe I'll find more along the way.
Today, Neville and Barbara are parents again. Their 2-year-old son Dean has brought happiness and hope back into their lives.
Dean is just full of life, full of laughter, and he just keeps me on my toes, and he's just an amazing little boy, and love him to bits, and he's just brought so much happiness into our life again. And when he's older, I'll be able to explain. He does see books of Craig and pictures, and it's still he knows that we talk about him, but when he's older, I'll explain to to Dean like how much happiness that he brought to his mum and dad, and that he's our rock, like, and we know that we'll have a good life.
He gave us such a lovely, warm sense of being a family again. Gave us, I suppose, a real reason for living, because one of the things that happens is you struggle with is, what's the point in being here, you know? But Craig showed us that he's still alive and well, and it leaves me in absolutely no doubt. I mean, I know for definite that that there is a hereafter, that Craig is there, and that we will meet again. And I know it right down to my bones. I know it, and Craig has gifted us that, and it's a nice place to be.
Next on Compass, the premiere of our special new series. Every day in Australia, there are over 40,000 patients in hospital.
If you can hear me, can you stick out your tongue?
While medicine tends the bodies, chaplains tend the souls.
I think he's going to die.
It is a tough environment. I don't want anyone to think for a minute that this is an easy job. It's a tough job.
In this series, we follow the chaplains' journeys alongside the patients and families at 3 major hospitals.
This isn't about Catholic teaching or Jewish teaching.
Do you have some pain?
This is about what's in the person themselves.
Thanks, Doc.
Letting their own spirituality express itself in however that needs to be.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Our chaplains are Catholic and Protestant, Muslim, Jewish and Buddhist. Regardless of their faith, they all meet the same challenges.
Working in the hospital challenges my faith. We want to be God sometimes, but we're not God.
We don't have solutions, we don't have answers, but we try to help.
The pain of suffering.
Suffering makes us all introspective. We start to ask those meaning of life questions.
The power of love.
It's about respecting people for who they are.
And the joy of new life. In our first episode, Chaplain Di tends to a family in crisis.
Every parent's worst nightmare.
And Chaplain Graham gets a deathbed plea.
Well, I know I'm dying.
Okay.